Coming up in today's WrestleTalk news, has AEW lost 2 more stars? More on Triple H's WWE role, and Tempest does his first NXT 2.0 review since moving to the UK. Core blimey, cup of tea, governor.
Support WrestleTalk!
One of the biggest differences between AEW and WWE over the past couple of years is their methods of releasing stars. WWE tends to release everyone at once and then pretend it's budget cuts, whereas AEW pays people until the end of their contracts and then decides whether to renew them, kind of based on that wrestler's performance and importance to the promotion. It's kind of hard to say which is a more ethical and kind business practice. Interestingly, AEW is the promotion that has been losing more stars of late, as a number of contracts, including those of Marco Stunt, Stu Grayson and Joey Janela, have all expired, and it seems as though another couple of AEW stars may have departed the company. The first clue for this was Dark Order star Alan Angels, who blacked out his Twitter profile picture and tweeted, "Excited for what's next," which could of course mean a number of things, but because we're wrestling fans, we will of course immediately assume he means that he's left AEW. There has been no confirmation from any news sources that he has left, and who knows, maybe he's just bought Fall Guys on the PS5 and is excited to play it. Similarly, Chuck Taylor of Best Friends has also made some moves on Twitter that have fans talking. Chuck has not only blacked out his profile, but he's also deleted all of his tweets. And while this is far from a confirmation of anything, in the past wrestlers have done this as a way of showing that change is afoot. Taylor was on the card for this past weekend's Forbidden Door show, teaming with Rocky Romero in the ROH and IWGP Tag Title Winner Takes All match. Notably, Taylor is still on the AEW roster page on the company's website, so let's not count our releases before they've been announced, but it is still interesting behaviour. Fightful Select recently reported there have been a number of under-the-radar releases from the promotion, so if both Chuck and Alan Angels are gone, they may be 2 of many more we simply don't know about yet. Do you think letting contracts expire is the best way to release stars, or do you prefer WWE's more cutthroat way of doing things? Let me know in the comments. Last week, John Pollock of Post Wrestling made the interesting report that Triple H had returned to the WWE Performance Center, with the WWE legend reportedly telling those he spoke to that he was back in the fold. Speculation immediately began as to what this might mean. Is he back as a coach? Will he be helping to run NXT like he did in the good old days of the black and gold? Or is he just there to say hello and then leave? Well, according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live, it's more of the latter, as according to Alvarez, nothing has changed since last week. Alvarez said, "Last week, that Triple H story, it's possible it was much ado about nothing because it wasn't a scheduled meeting. Triple H was in town for a birthday or something like that. He stopped by and talked to everybody. He dropped the line about how he was back, and then he was like, I guess he couldn't say why he was back or when or any details, so that was it. And apparently he's done similar speeches to this in the past and everything's like pretty much the same. Who knows, maybe he'll be there running the show tonight, but the impression I was given was, you know, he said something and nothing has changed, so I guess." Triple H has worked very little over the past year or so, having suffered a cardiac event, and reports from Dave Meltzer at the time were that it was very serious. In an interview, Trips revealed he now has an inbuilt defibrillator in his chest in case of emergencies, which probably gives a good idea of just how serious his health problems were. Either way, seeing him back in any capacity is very positive, and I honestly wish him nothing but the best for the future. Speaking of the best, here is Tempest reviewing what he has often called the best wrestling show on TV, NXT 2.0.
Holy shit, this is not my desk. Wait, hang on, I know. Ah, that's better. I'm Tempest, and this is the June 28th, 2022 episode of NXT 2.0. In about 5 minutes. This show kicked off with Kaden Carter and Katana Chance versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, with the winners facing Toxic Attraction for the tag titles next week. There wasn't anything particularly wrong with this match by any means, but I think a standing ovation for some arm drags and drop kicks might be a bit extreme. Kaden stopped wrestling to shake her bum, and I laughed. JC Jane stopped watching wrestling to shake her everything, and I really laughed. Ultimately, Roxy hit the pop rocks on Katana for the win, and holy shit, are Kaden and Katana the least successful tag team in NXT history? How can they not have more success? There are only ever 3 teams here at once. A solid match though, as Roxanne Perez is still one of the highlights of this show. 3 out of 5. Giovanni Vinci has the most hilarious entrance ever, and I demand that it be accompanied by sitcom music. Vinci hits some chops and a last ride powerbomb to beat Ikemen Jiro, and I'm sorry, there are just far too many dudes using a powerbomb as a finish right now. We gotta switch it up. This was a squash match, there's nothing really to it. 2 out of 5. Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen won the NXT UK tag titles last week? F***ing news to me. Wait, are they just the NXT tag team titles here? This actually started as a pretty heartwarming segment with Jensen thanking Briggs for taking him under his wing, taking a chance on him, and Briggs telling him that he was proud of him. I do think that a "you deserve it" chant for Brooks Jensen is the death of the f***ing wrestling industry, however, but it's just a chant, and this promo more than made up for it. Pretty Deadly came out and they started a pretty naff brawl. Wasn't much to that, but the promo made up for this whole segment, and those belts are f***ing gorgeous. Best belts on NXT right now. 3 out of 5 segment. Grayson Waller-Brown knows Carmelo Hayes backstage and got him to sign some autographs. More on that later. Caden and Katana are grumpy because they're losers who lose. Maybe go to a f***ing rave or something. Indy Hartwell then wrestled Kiana James, and I wanted to give this match a chance, but this match was brought down very hard by a bad finish, and it wasn't very high to begin with. Indy missed her top rope elbow, and Kiana tried to put her foot on the rope, but she was too far away, and an epic f***ing struggle ensued as Kiana stretched her toes to reach the bottom rope, giving her no leverage at all, but still managing to pin Indy Hartwell despite not hitting a move at all. Maybe we can just make things a little bit more simple for the inexperienced folk in the room next time, 2 out of 5. It is heavily implied that Two Dimes was murdered by Tony D'Angelo and Stax. He's sleeping with the fishes now. Gabagool. Wesley cut an unbelievable promo backstage. I don't know why they don't do more promos like this where he's talking right into the camera. Maybe it's just the interviewers that are the problem. Yes, it's the interviewers that are wrong, I say as Bruce Pritchard swings a pocket watch in front of my face. The Diamond Mine took on Joe Gacy and the Dyad, and it's time for Tempest Pet Peeves because I can't stand when there's a tag team of people whose literal names are Dude 1 and Dude 2. Fix that shit. Call them Dyad and Bryad for all I care. Just differentiate them in some way, because when you try and do twin magic with two guys who look identical and can't sell with their faces, kind of makes the spot redundant. Thankfully, the Creeds are one of the best additions to NXT since the rebrand, and Julius lifting a Dyad into a vertical suplex from a seated position added a whole point onto this match. The Dyads held Brutus's eyes open, Clockwork Orange style, as Joe Gacy was being Joe Gacy, and just as Diamond Mine had things going, Roderick Strong made the blind tag and argued with the Creeds until Joe Gacy hit his handspring lariat for the win. I really like the direction the Diamond Mine has been going on recently because you can sort of see both sides most of the time. It does feel like real miscommunications, and I like that. This was easily the best match on the show, which isn't super surprising given that once Joe Gacy is in the ring, he's usually pretty good as long as he isn't being a spooky dickhead. 4 out of 5. Trick Williams is incredibly hurt that Mackenzie Mitchell didn't ask him about his match with Wes Lee next week, while Mello was informed that the autograph he signed for Waller was actually a contract for a title match next week. You fool! Lash Legend kicked a doctor in the f***ing face, and Sanga of the Thunder was jumped during his entrance by Zion Quinn as they immediately cut to commercial. Sigh. Back from commercial, and Roddy is arguing with Diamond Mine, saying that they listen but don't hear what he says, and next week they will have an NXT US tag title match because that's just something you can demand after you get pinned apparently. Then, and only then, we cut back to the ring as Sanga and Zion are being separated. Honestly, this is one of those matches that could have ended in a brawl and never actually happened, and I don't think anybody would complain about false advertising. They eventually get underway with Zion jumping Sanga at the bell again because Sanga is a stupid giant, and everyone knows stupid giants need the most attention. There was lots of clubbing and rest holds in this match until Sanga finally won with the choke slam. They're big. Get it? 2 out of 5. Wendy Chu lives in a void. She sleeps in a black room with no walls or ceiling. Wendy Chu is the one above all. She also had a dream sequence where Tiffany Stratton was haunting her nightmares. She brushed her teeth while we listened to her internal monologue about Stratton being stupid, and then she broke the fourth wall and said she'd beat Tiffany next week. What to make of any of this? Can she at least sleep in a room and not the Patrick Dream level from Battle from Bikini Bottom? Nikita Lyons faced Mandy Rose, and this was a tough one to watch. Nikita Lyons is not particularly smooth in the ring much of the time, and you can feel a slight hesitation between moves, and if you can ignore it, it probably wouldn't bother you, but as soon as I saw it, it was all I could focus on. Just like all you can focus on right now is manually breathing. Toxic Attraction attacked for a lame DQ because the NXT Women's Champion can't even get a regular win over Nikita Lyons on TV. Cora and Roxanne made the save for Nikita, but they couldn't save us from this match. Maybe she'll get better. 1 out of 5. Apollo Crews gave a pep talk to Solo Sikoa about losing last week, and they were also interrupted by Zion Quinn, who said that Crews wouldn't be successful like he would because, as he reads off Vince McMahon's list of favorite things. Man, this show is transparent sometimes. And then we got the main event segment as Braun Breaker stood face to face with his #1 contender Cameron Grimes, and holy smokes, bologna fudge and mustard, this was a banging promo segment. Braun starts very respectfully, but Grimes immediately gets him riled up. Grimes said if Braun loses, he probably gets called up and maybe even ends up on SummerSlam, but when he lost the North American title, he pushed all his chips to the center and went after Braun. He said he doesn't have a backup plan because this is all he has. Well, this was Braun's backup plan because he couldn't cut it in the NFL and called up his daddy to be a wrestler. Braun warns about the last guy who brought his dad into this, and yeah, I mean, holy shit, please don't. I don't need to be reminded. Braun has some good rebuttal, but Grimes tells him he doesn't have any heart, just like his daddy didn't have heart, and that's why he wasn't a world champion, and that is when Braun snapped and grabbed Cam by the neck, only to be shoved into the corner, popping the top rope off of the post and leaving Braun selling his shoulder. Grimes said he might not have been able to beat Braun at 100%, but he isn't 100% now. What a brilliant segment. This felt real, it felt heated, it was between two stars that people care about, and it had a big spectacle with the ropes coming off, building so much more interest into this match in just one segment. A phenomenal go off the air angle that has actually made me excited for Great American Bash. 5 out of 5. As for the show overall, not a bad show by any means, even if some of the wrestling was subpar. That last promo really made me want to see the special. I can't ask for much more than that. A 4 out of 5 show and a good time. I can't wait to review next week's show, right?
In this WrestleTalk news, WWE covering up Sasha Banks and Naomi's real status. AEW and WWE are working together. Did Forbidden Door do well enough to get a sequel, and more? Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
And you're going to want to subscribe because right now we're in a wrestling